The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we have a very big show today, all of which we're going to get started in just a minute. But we have to start today's show, unfortunately, by bringing up a terrible tragedy that is still unfolding very close to here and very close to home for me personally. There was a shooting this morning at Saugus High School and that is in an area where we used to live, and we have so many friends and family who have their children that go to that school. And the latest news this morning is that they believe that they have their suspect, and that a total of 6 people have been transported to the hospital. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in that area, with all of the families affected, with all of the young students affected. We had some very breathless moments for people that are very close and near and dear to us this morning, and we're happy to report that the people that we know are safe at this moment, but there are individuals who were not safe, and it is devastating to even think about. So again, our thoughts and our prayers are with them. I am looking for answers like everyone else, and as we hear things that we can do, we will let you know here. Because this certainly has got to stop. I think we're all in agreement with that, right? Okay, so aside from that, because we do have a big show for you here this morning, and we have a lot of things to talk about, and I want for you guys to feel that you can write in at any point and juxtapose next to this sadness and tragedy. We have some really wonderful, happy and joyous and hilarity about to ensue, and I know that that's hard, but we all go on, right? Traven's going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us here during the show, because you're going to want to connect with us during the show. There's all the ways that you can connect. Please remember that you can join us on autism-live.com, that you can be writing in your comments there. I'm going to be monitoring closely because I know that some of you are going to have some questions for our second guest this morning. So feel free to be writing in. You can also write in on Facebook, on YouTube. We're going to be monitoring on Twitter as well. Whatever way that you would like to participate, it's all free, and we appreciate you guys being here with us. Whatever your thoughts, your questions, your concerns. Usually we start Thursday mornings with something we refer to as the jargon of the day. We're bypassing that today because we've got too big of a show, too many things going on. We're starting right now, even as we speak. We've got a guest who's joining us via Skype. I'm not going to slaughter your last name, Darby. I'm going to let you say what your last name is. But go ahead. Darby, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's Darby Zahradnik is my last name.
That's how I was going to say it, Zahradnik.
Well, good job. Excellent.
It sounds
exactly like it looks.
I'm making that up. I was not going to say that. But Darby is here with us today, and there's a lot of green on this box, so you're seeing some cutout. We'll put it so you can see Darby's face through the box. Isn't that fun? You know that on this time of year, every year, Autism Live puts out a toy guide. And so Darby is joining us because her company, this is one of our favorite things from this year, Darby. Honestly, this won our Therapist Award in the adult category, but I think this is great for teens and tweens too. I'm talking about the Empower poster. So Darby, let's start with talking about what is your company that makes these, and then we're going to talk about what exactly this is and why it is. There you can see the box in all of its glory without the green being color-coded out. But Darby, tell us about the company that makes this, because you make a lot of great products.
We definitely do. Our company is called Ann Williams Group, and we manufacture craft and activity kits for a wide variety of ages, all the way from preschool up into adults. And we try to keep things very on trend and innovative. We try to come up with kind of unique takes on different types of crafting methods to have a little bit of something for everybody.
Well, I'm so impressed because you hit it out of the park with this one for me and for a lot of people. But now we've been able to look at a lot of your other products because you guys have so graciously donated a bunch of things for our Sensitive Santa events in the month of December. But this so caught our eye when we were looking for winners for the toy guide. And by the way, you guys, the toy guide is available right now on our website, autism-live.com. You click the toy guide, you can go and see all the winners. But this is one of the many ways that you can order this on the toy guide. If you go to the adult section, you find this, hover over the name of it, and it takes you right to a place where you can purchase it. One of the reasons why we loved this is it is a craft. And there are so many things that are included in this craft that it allows you, it gives you all the components. You don't have to go shop for all the little things to make yourself an empowerment poster. It's all here included for you. You can be as creative as you want, and all these little things, if you guys can see, can be put together in myriads of different ways, but it asks the individual to make a poster about themselves, positive, self-affirming statements. And excuse me, not only is it therapeutic working on, the fine motor skills that you're working on and coordinating colors and things of that nature to satisfy yourself, but to have to think through that process of what are the words that describe you. This person who did this, in the middle they put the I am and said, I am a good person, a problem solver, compassionate, giving, affectionate, imaginative, honest, all these different things, which is so empowering, hence the Empower poster, but then they get to hang it on the wall and it becomes the reminder, the positive affirmation in their dorm room or in their bedroom, in the living room, someplace where they see it on a daily basis. So we loved this, Darby. We have had so many people say this is such a great thing for a therapist to work on with an individual or to give as a gift for them to do on their own. We were really excited by all the things that come with it, all the different ways that you could put this together. So what inspired this? What made you guys think to make this wonderful, wonderful gift?
Well, our amazing creative team is always, looking out there to see ways that we can create products that have a positive message. So, of course, you kind of hit the nail on the head the way you described it. You've got the satisfying process of actually decorating it and choosing the colors and doing the decoupage on the poster, but the fact that it has that kind of meaning behind it, it's really important as a woman-owned company. It's really important for us to give young girls an outlet to, kind of instill positivity in them and get them to kind of think about their self-worth and their importance and who they are and who they want to be. So this poster really, it's a kit that has been a fantastic seller for us. It resonates across lots of different age groups, and it's just a really, really special kit. So we're glad that you guys recognized us, because I think that you see exactly what we were trying to do with the kit.
Yeah, I really do. And one of the many, I'm going to show you guys the back of the box, and on it, you can't really see from this distance, it has these sheets of paper where they can cut out the different words. And there's one that's black with white lettering and one with white with black lettering. And it's just, a lot of times, all of us have a hard time knowing what to say about ourselves, right? But when you're presented with this sheet and it's a list of things that you can pick from them and go, is that me or is that not me? And I think that it prompts you to be able to identify things that you can say about yourself that are positive. And then there is something very grounding about we talk all the time on the show about what you think becomes what you do becomes what you are, right? So as a person having to go through this and think this through, then there's the actual action of taking this out and putting it on a poster and hanging it on the wall sort of solidifies it. And then the visual of seeing it day in and day out. We all need this, right? But especially our young people and our young adults need to be thinking of themselves positively, need to be reminded of all the things that they can do. We can all be, right? We can all be reminded of what we can't do, and none of us can do everything. But being able to acknowledge, I love even the wordage on the box, celebrate yourself and all that you are. Individuality is beautiful, funny, kind, quirky. In fact, there are many ways to describe how individual you are. That's why we've given you lots of words. Pick some and celebrate yourself. You guys are smart. And you said you're women-owned. Doesn't that tell us everything?
Absolutely.
But it is, so we picked this as our winner for the adults. And I will tell you that I think it is equally appropriate for teens and tweens, and for anybody that is starting to think of themselves and needs a little bit of a boost. You could even do this with a younger kiddo if you're being a little bit more intensive helping them on the spectrum. We all need to be giving these positive words and positive thought processes to our folks on the autism spectrum. But this is not the only gift that you guys make. You guys have a wide array of things that are along the same line, that ask somebody to do a craft project while thinking of themselves positively in different ways that you can configure it. So where can people go to see the full line of products that you guys have?
The best place to see the full line is just directly on our website, which is annwilliamsgroup.com. And as far as going to a store to purchase product, we are in specialty toy retailers across the United States. We actually have a store locator there on our website that consumers can access to see if there's a store local to them that they can visit. Plus, we do have a selection of products in several national retailers.
Well, it's really remarkable stuff, very well made. I know that a lot of you are looking at holiday breaks coming up, whether it's Thanksgiving or the longer winter break, where you start to panic about right now and go, oh, what are we going to do with that time? Because we don't want people to just be on screens during that time. We want them to be doing things that help them, that build all of their skills, that build their self-esteem. These are great activities, whether it's something that they're doing while you're cooking the Thanksgiving dinner and you're just sort of monitoring it on the dining room table, whether you get a group of people together and work on this on the day after Thanksgiving or throughout the Christmas holiday, or this is, a Hanukkah gift or something that's underneath the Christmas tree. This is a superlative gift that will keep giving to them. And I love that it becomes the artwork on the wall that keeps reminding them. Super fantastic. Love this so much. Again, on our toy guide, if you go to autism-live.com, pick the toy guide at the top, go to the adult section, and you will see that this is our winner for the Therapist Award. But I gotta say, really, so Ann Williams Group, tell me it again, Darby, I'm sorry, I'm smooth brain.
The website is
yes.
annwilliamsgroup.com.
Okay, now I've done all this talking. What would you guys like to say that I've left out?
I mean, you really kind of covered everything. You took all the words right out of my mouth as far as talking about that specific product. And I think it's important for your viewers to know that the way that we think through products that we put out into the market is similar for everything. So, we try to make things that are beautiful, that have a good message or a good meaning behind them. And then once the actual activity is completed, you're going to have something that you're really proud to display, to gift, to wear, because everything that we make is using a little bit higher quality supplies. So it's a really well-rounded line of products, great gift items. And, the Empower poster is not the only thing that would speak to kids that are on the spectrum or even adults that are on the spectrum. We have a lot of different products that that you guys would be interested in.
Absolutely, really wonderful. And the thing I want you to realize that if you were going to say, "Oh, I love the idea. We'll go get a canvas, and then we're going to come up with words and write them ourselves on paper, and we'll try to get all the things that you would need to make the poster." I'm telling you, it's going to cost you a small fortune. You'll spend 3 days amassing, because I've tried to do those kinds of things with my nieces before. You amass all the craft projects, and you're too tired to do it. And what's great about this is that it all comes together in the box. You open up the box, you're good to go. You don't need to go get something else. There's enough structure here with suggestions about how to put it together so that somebody who's really at a loss and maybe arts and crafts aren't their thing have enough structure that they can do it. It's sort of a no-fail thing. It'll look beautiful no matter what. But for somebody who's really creative, they can off-road it and do it how they want to. It's really perfect. I would say to you that if you're looking for a great activity to do with your kiddo or your grand kiddo, that get one for them, but get a second one for you and sit down and do it side by side with them. And the reason why I say that is that so often they look at us and we're trying to teach perspective taking to kiddos on the autism spectrum and young adults on the autism spectrum, right? We know that that's part of the area where they need some more support, and that it is so beneficial if you are talking about yourself, modeling the behavior and things about you. I guarantee you it will be a conversation starter. You will learn things about them that you wouldn't have learned otherwise, and they will learn things about you that will strengthen your relationship. So don't get one, get two, or three, or four, or five. Have the whole family sit down and do them. We absolutely loved this. The therapist loved it. We thought it, and we think it's so aptly named the Empower poster because it does empower you. It's a home run for sure. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for being with us, Darby. Please give our best to everybody there at Ann Williams Group. We're big fans. Big fans.
Great. Well, we're really excited about what you guys are doing as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being with us. We're gonna say bye-bye for now because we have a mammoth show that we also need to get on the road with. But thank you for being with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So I love this craft. But I mentioned that we have a big show because joining in just a few seconds, we have the fabulous Jay Mohr, who is going to be with us. You guys know him from movies like, oh my gosh, Jerry Maguire and Picture Perfect with Jennifer Aniston, one of my favorite rom-coms, right? You probably know him from his podcast, which is Mohr Stories. And you may know him from the series that I loved, Last Comic Standing. He was the host, creator, and producer of that series. He is now an autism advocate. He is going to be joining us and talking about what he's doing this Saturday to help raise money for a wonderful organization, Fullerton Cares. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bure.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For November, we're going to be working on memory with our kids, and what better way than doing a scavenger hunt? The materials you'll be needing for this activity are a camera, cardstock, scissors, glue, and whatever objects you want your child to be hunting for. Step 1, you're the hunter. Find all the objects you want your child looking for and take photos of them. Now that you've collected all the objects you want your kids hunting for later, print out the images and then cut them out and glue them on a cardstock just so they're organized and isolated. Now that the scavenger hunt template is done, put all the objects back where they belong. Remember, we're working on memory, so put them in places that your kids would normally find them. You want them to be successful. We'll make this one really easy to find. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with your kids. Remember, the scavenger hunt is supposed to be a fun way to work on memory. Well, until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
parent, you might be asking yourself, how can I make this Thanksgiving something to be grateful for with a child on the autism spectrum? Well, the first thing that we want to do for Thanksgiving is stop and consider what the child really enjoys eating. Thanksgiving is supposed to be a wonderful food holiday. We don't want to leave the child out of that. So what will they actually eat? And that's what we want to consider feeding them. If they have their happiest food, they're going to be very happy and you'll be happy too. We also want to think of minimizing the schedule disruptions. A lot of times for Thanksgiving, people have this wonderful notion of let's eat dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That isn't really going to be a successful strategy for a lot of our kids on the autism spectrum. So set your meal times at regular meal times, and if you absolutely have to have it at a different time, make sure that you feed the child at the regular time and lower your expectations for what they're going to eat at the actual table. We also want to let go of expectations. Remember that expectations are planned resentment, so let it go and consider starting some new traditions for Thanksgiving. It may be that turkey hot dogs are the new tradition for your family for Thanksgiving. But remember, holidays are meant to be enjoyed for everyone. So find a way that your child will really be excited for this Thanksgiving, and I guarantee you, you'll be more grateful. How can I prepare my child for a successful holiday dinner? Welcome back to Autism Live. Jay Mohr is stuck in traffic. That's okay, he's gonna be here momentarily, and we were holding off to see if we had time to do jargon of the day, so it's time for jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani nani are those experts talking about? What does this have to do with us, and how can this help us? So we've been talking about all the gifts and toys in our toy guide. What better time to talk about symbolic play? I talked with you guys last week about the different types of play, and we talked about functional pretend play, when you have something that looks like the real thing, like a toy vacuum cleaner, and you play with it as if your vacuum, and it's a toy, right? That's functional pretend play. But you guys have said to me, Shannon, how do we get to creative play? And there is a step-by-step process. We start with functional pretend play, and we teach kids, okay, you know, this thing that is plastic and isn't really a vacuum cleaner, and we don't really plug it in, so there's no danger to it. We're gonna move this back and forth and we're gonna play it. So now let's move on to symbolic play. Let's take a look at what the actual definition of symbolic play is. It's endowing objects with other qualities to play with them in socially relevant and appropriate ways. Okay, that, you know, if you know what endowing a project, something with other qualities is, great. But if you don't, you're like, I have no idea what that looks like. Let's take a look at what our working definition of this means. It means using imagination to turn an object into a functional toy. So, you know, sometimes you're out and about and you don't have a toy and you have to entertain a child, right? And anything can become anything. I have my fabulous little Autism Live sign that was made for us by Thelma Lou Creations, right? And I can decide that this is a phone. So I can be playing with a child and I can go ring, ring, and I can go hello. And now I have endowed this with the properties of a phone. It is clearly not a phone, right? It is not a phone, but I can treat it, I can act like it's a phone, and now I'm using imagination. And when you do this for kids for the first time, and usually I do it with a phone, they're like, what's happening right now? That's not a phone. And especially our kiddos who are on the autism spectrum, because they're very rule-oriented and they're used to, well, that's not a phone. But if I keep playing with it and I go, ping, 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 hello, oh, hello, can I speak to, yeah, I'm calling your mother right now. And I say, would you like to talk to her? And at first they're like, no. A lot of our kids are like, she's crazy, I don't know what she's doing. And then I just keep playing with it. And eventually we get the kiddo to do, and if I can't get it with a phone, I'm gonna do it with something else. So, you know, we take something, like I've got a pair of glasses here. This is clearly not a car, right? But I take this and I turn it into a car and I set it on the table and I go, vroom, vroom, and I do this with, and what we teach the kids is, oh, the world is wide open. I can take anything and make it do something else. And I saw this with my son. We worked on this with him, and it just takes practice and doing it and making it fun and funny. And you can do it with absolutely any object. It requires you to use imagination and to model it for the kiddos. But once you do, you open up their world, and you want to do it as young as you can, and then persist on working on it, right? Because if they're 13 and this has not ever been introduced to you before, do it now. Do it now. They'll think you're crazy. They'll think you're odd. But the truth is that they do this in acting classes all the time. In acting classes, you have props, right? And you have a working prop until you have the real prop. So maybe the thing is that you have to have, this cell phone, but they don't have the prop for you. So they give you something and you have to pretend that it's the thing, right? Adults do this all the time, and they would be asked to do this in an acting class, and you can do it in that way with somebody. If they're an adult and you need to teach this to them, say, okay, right now we're going to pretend. We're going to do a scene where you and I are pretending that we are on the phones, and we're not going to use our phones. We're going to pretend that these are phones and explain it to them. And I'll tell you, there's something that's so freeing about this. This works on flexibility. In a very fun way. But it really does create new pathways in the brain to think of things in different ways. There's this thing called functional fixedness, that sometimes we look at something and we only think that it can do that thing. There's a whole bunch you can Google. If you like logic puzzles, you can Google functional fixedness logic puzzles. And there are things like, okay, you're in a room that doesn't have an exit, the window is too high, and all you have is a rope hanging from the ceiling, you've got a hammer and 3 nails. How are you going to get out of the room, right? And it's this whole thing that you have to learn how to, tie the hammer to the string and make it a pendulum so that the hammer can go up and hit the window. Because you need to think of the hammer in a different way and the string in a different way. This kind of thinking is what we need in the world, right? It's what engineers need to think. It's, can someone please redesign women's bathrooms? Thank you, because everybody's so used to thinking of it one way. Right? But this kind of play leads to engineers who look at a problem in a different way. I'm sure that Dyson did symbolic play all the time and said, no, let's do a vacuum cleaner no, let's do a fan in a different way. Because there's that level of creativity and flexibility of thinking. So symbolic play is a really important step. You're still using an object, but you're making that object take on other things. I can turn this into, a fire, and I go, oh, it's hot, right? Play with kids this way. They find it hilarious. And you'll find that they're much more willing to play with you, and it makes it fun for them after a while. In the beginning, you got to make it fun, right? But after a while, they get to think it's fun. And honestly, it is like opening a book and going, you have the whole world. I started to say, I watched my son do this. And the day that I knew that he got it was that we were at a Costco, and you know how they have those flatbed carts, and we were getting something that was big, so I went, and he liked the flatbed carts because he could sit on it, right? And he thought that it was super fun. And so he was riding on the flatbed cart, and I don't know what we had that was like long in the cart, and he picked it up and pretended it was a fishing pole and was fishing off the side of the cart, and I went, look, he's got it. He's got it. It was so imaginative and creative, and it led to so many things in his thinking and in his life. So encourage your kids, do symbolic play. It's a really fabulous thing. Okay, moving on, we have a question of the day for you. And our question today, it is, what was your favorite toy as a child? What was the thing that lit you up, that just got you so excited, the gift or the toy that was the thing as a child? I can tell you without a doubt that on my 10th birthday, my dad was away. He had to be away on a business trip to California, of all places, and we lived in upstate New York. But he got home by he said, I'm going to be there before the end of your birthday, and I think it was like 11:35 at night. And I was allowed to stay up because my dad was coming home, and he had a present for me that he had gotten in California. And when growing up in upstate New York, California was like this amazing place where, the famous people lived. And it is no surprise to anybody that I, wanted to come and live here in California, because growing up it was like the place, right? And my grandmother at one point had gotten her hair cut next to Davy Jones from the Monkees, and after that I was like, I got to go to California. So my dad came home, the taxi pulled up from the airport, and my dad got out of the car, and he had this ginormous box for me, and it was something called the Imagination dollhouse. And it was a dollhouse, but not your traditional dollhouse. It was very 60s, and this was in the 70s, so I don't get that. But very modern dollhouse, that it was these pieces of plastic that were translucent, and they were bright colors. And those were the floors, and you could put the floors together in all these different ways, and it was this open floor plan. The Imagination dollhouse. I still can see pictures of it and absolutely love it. I'm told our guests are here, so we're going to go to break, and we're going to come back with the fabulous Jay Mohr. Don't go anywhere. Parent to parent, having a compliant child is one of the greatest things on earth. But frequently we ask ourselves, why doesn't my child listen? Well, here are some tips to help us to get a listening, happy, compliant child. First, we want to make sure that we make compliance worthwhile. Whenever your child does something that's compliant, make sure that you praise them and heap rewards on them that are meaningful to them, things they really want. One of the things that we have to be mindful of is that if the child isn't compliant, we have to praise more often. Just heap it on. If you say to yourself, there's nothing to praise, they're not doing anything that I want them to do, then ask them to do something that they already want to do. This is a really tricky way of being able to praise them. And then, of course, the last thing that we want to do is catch them doing good things when they least suspect it. And make sure you heap that praise on, because having a compliant child is one of the best things in life. Token economies are a great way to get to good behavior with your child.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're going to be making a placemat prompter. As we work on this activity, you'll notice that these icons will pop up. These tell you important information about what skills we're using to create the craft and how to access these lessons in the Skills program. Skills is the ABA-based online tool that helps parents educate their children that are on the autism spectrum. And if you are a Skills user, this will help you get the most out of this educational experience. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are the template from our Facebook page at facebook.com/autismlive and your dishware. This activity is going to help your child be able to set the table on their own. The way we do that is by using this prompt. This template acts as a placemat for the table. So it has all the prompts as to where all the dishes and utensils need to go on the table. And as your child gets better in remembering where everything goes, you can remove prompts to make it more challenging for them. And lo and behold, as time goes on, they'll be able to do it independently without any prompts. Well, I hope you enjoy this really super quick and helpful activity. Well, until next time guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Ackerman. Welcome to the show. So the goal of today, we're going to make meatballs. Let's get started. So again, I'm going to take roughly a pound of my ground organic turkey, and I'm going to add in the secret vegetable. So if your kid doesn't like vegetables, don't cook in front of them, okay? Have them watch a movie or something. But you definitely want to make sure they're not watching, because then they won't eat it. So, and here we go with the egg. And our breadcrumbs. I'm just adding salt and pepper to taste. If you think about kids' shapes and sizes, You want to think small shapes, small hands. So your oven should be preheating at about 400 degrees. We're going to kick into the oven here and look at our meatballs. I did flip them halfway through the 20-odd minute. So we'll put, just like Julia Child's, there's our finished product right there. These are good. Cooking is easy. You don't have to be afraid of it. But we want to hear from you. If you can let us know what recipes are important to you, maybe convert a recipe from a traditional flour or gluten-based to a gluten-free or an allergy-free, we're here to help. So you get to us, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. You can reach out on Facebook at facebook.com/autismlive, or reach out at Taka Now. So I know you're having a great day. I had a lot of fun cooking with you in the kitchen, but I'll tell you, before we end, I gotta have more meatballs. Have a great day.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hello, fellow activists. Last week, I introduced you to step 5 of the 10 steps to empowerment, shore up spiritually. Let's talk more about finding ways to do that, how to find out what lifts your spirit, feeds your soul, and make it a practice. That practice is different things for different people. It could be the practice of meditation, of prayer, of community worship, or serving others. But it's the practice that will give you hope and faith and strength for the journey ahead, for the marathon journey of raising a child with autism. I get inspired every day by the families of children with autism that I come into contact with, like the parents of the nonverbal child who have not given up hope that that child will speak one day, or the grandparents who should be enjoying their retirement but instead are joyfully raising their adult grandchild with autism, or the mother who is fighting for services for her daughter while her Marine husband is fighting a battle to keep our country safe. They all inspire me. My grandmother, Diddy, who is an angel who still guides me every day, had this quote inscribed in her Bible. I sought my soul, but my soul I could not see. I sought my God, but my God eluded me. I sought my brother, and I found all three. I think I'm finally starting to grasp the meaning of that. So feed your soul, lift your spirit, and until next time, keep the faith.
Welcome back, you guys. Big day for us because live in the studio we have the fabulous Robin Yates Martinez, and she is here with us with the even more fabulous Jay Mohr. We're big fans.
Yeah. I can't co-sign that I'm more fabulous than Robin Yates Martinez.
Honestly, I'm rethinking it too. But let's say that they're both fabulous and wonderful. We're so excited and honored that you're joining us again, and honored that you donate your time in the way that you do for this autism community, because it makes you very menschy, and not like the yogurt.
Nice. Good pull.
So we love Jay Mohr. We know that you guys love Jay Mohr too. We were talking before about...
Not a sponsor, by the way.
No, not a sponsor. Not a sponsor.
Good.
Although they give money to autism as well.
Okay.
They actually do. So it's okay for us to mention. But we're thrilled that you're here, and the reason why you're here is because this Saturday night you're going to be headlining again, second year in a row, for the comedy, Fullerton Cares comedy for
Show
autism.
for autism.
There we go. I needed to get all the right words in the right place and wasn't doing it.
Well, I'm glad, because I just know I'm doing the show with Robin Yates Martinez.
Right?
I love saying your name, all three of them in a row.
Right?
Great.
Fullerton
you
Cares.
should love saying her name that way.
Fullerton Cares is Robin pulled off something really great last year, and that was, a comedy show where the proceeds went to benefit, research development and stuff, helping families dealing with autism, and it was really impressive because I was really late getting there. I had another show, I think, and when I got there, it was about 2 hours in, over 2 hours in, and the crowd was still fired up, and the amount of great comics that Robin got, it really impressed me, and I understand you had Ada here.
Yes.
Great. It's just,
She's hilarious.
it's a great show.
She will actually be on the show tomorrow, on tomorrow's show, and so you guys will love her. She's hilarious. And we also on tomorrow's show are having Keith Reza, who is the host and speaks wonderful things about you. You've done amazing things for him. He says that you've.
Well, he's my
helped
friend.
him.
I mean, that's not amazing things. That's just what you do. It's my buddy.
Well, that's not what everybody does. Let's be honest.
You're right. Yeah, correct.
know?
But, you know.
A lot of people are looking to climb the ladder and step on as many necks as they can, and you are
Oh,
somebody.
I'll step on some necks if I
There you
have
go.
to.
Well, I would hope so.
I'll toss Keith and Ade under the bus if I, you know.
But you've helped Keith, you've helped to mentor him. He's a young comic on the spectrum who's doing great things, and he's going to be hosting that night for the first time. And I think that he's excited about that. He'll talk with us about that tomorrow. You'll be headlining again. You were hilarious last time. You had us all in tears last time because we were laughing so hard that we could do nothing more than cry at that point. You were hilarious, and we knew that you would be. Nobody was going to go anywhere till you got there. So it's a big, big night. And
Really?
yes. Yeah, yeah, we would have stayed till
Show
the
up
next
on
morning.
Monday.
No, please don't do that. Larry would kill me if I incited that, but we would have waited till Monday because we knew that you were going to be
Just so everybody knows, it's Saturday, Fullerton Cares.
Yes.
Okay, Saturday.
Comedy show for autism, November 16th. Doors open at 6. And the show is from 7 to 10. It's going to be fantastic.
3 hours, a lot of show.
Lot of fun.
That's
Lot
like
of show.
a
Lot of fun.
Springsteen concert.
Right, right.
But you don't have to bring canned goods.
No, no.
I spent $1,000 on a Springsteen ticket. I can't get in unless I have Del Monte green beans. My favorite charity is Springsteen. I give him all my money.
What's he doing with all those green beans?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Has like
I'm
a
sure
carnival
something
behind his
good.
tour bus. Plays cornhole or something.
But I understand that you guys participated in something together recently, which is part of the reason why your name is what it is now and why he loves to say your name. So tell us what you did recently that Jay helped out with.
Well, it was the most beautiful, amazing day of my life, and I married my perfect husband, Paul Martinez, and Jay, who was my inspiration for getting healthy, getting happy, getting in a place where I could meet Paul, and really receive that love, and we could start our life together. And so Jay walked me down the aisle, and he performed our ceremony, and it was beautiful.
I married you.
You did.
Is my chair like a foot shorter than yours? Because I know you're not 6'4".
Well, I'm like 6.
straight.
I'm
I
like
slouch
We
'cause I'm
can pump you
comfortable.
up too.
I gotta tell you, being able to marry Robin to a guy like Paul, as somebody that loves her and wants her protected at all times,
Yeah.
that was tough to get through, because he's a beauty. He's
a good
deep
person.
well. He's a river. He's not a reservoir. He's a real beauty. So the fact that she was marrying him,
Yeah.
it's so. I was thrilled. I was really happy to do it.
Was this your first wedding that you officiated?
No.
Oh, wow.
Well, I got the efficient license because I thought, through my podcast, what a great way to make side money. I'll get like super fans. I'll charge them like $5 or $2,000 if it's cash. I'll go all over. Nobody hit me up for that. They're like, nah. We thought it was more like it'd be fun to have you and we'll give you a meal. So, but I like meals. I eat like maybe three of them a day.
Occasionally, right?
Yeah. If it's not food, it's water with me.
Right, there you go.
So I was thrilled to do it. And I'm glad you're having Keith on too, because he's, any like rung on the ladder is great for him, because he doesn't disappoint. He delivers. That's when you're in comedy, you're going to help somebody. There's that risk reward of like, is this guy going to do what I say, or am I wasting my time? And he's so funny. I love his joke when he says, because he's on the spectrum, I believe, with Asperger's.
Yeah.
When he was a little kid, everybody was making paper airplanes. He was making paper airports. It's like one of my favorite jokes. When I heard it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like that's a different
It
frequency.
says it all. Yeah.
And the fact that he's on stage talking openly about it, it's really brave. Like, he's a sweet guy. He took me to a UCLA Bruins basketball game. He works at Ralph's during the day. And he took me to a basketball game, but I couldn't turn him down.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot to him, but it meant a lot to me. And like, I'll never forget that. Like, that was so, nobody's ever taken me to a basketball game.
I went to the Lakers last night. I would have gladly taken you if I'd only known.
Well,
I was going to say, I think maybe you've been taken to some Laker games, technically.
Yeah, was that a
So technically, I think maybe you've been taken to a couple Laker games.
Oh, I've
But I know what you mean.
I have Laker family, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but I'm happy you're having Keith. That's a big deal. That's good.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal for both sides, for you guys, you know, and for him too. It's great. Good.
Well, it's a big deal that, this event, first of all, to raise money, but that the event is actually walking its talk, that it has a person on the spectrum hosting the show in a way that he is getting to do what he does at a really high level with people like you on the bill. It's like great credit for him, and he can handle it. Let's be honest, he's totally up to it. It's
he can handle it. That's a non-issue.
It's not a gift that Fullerton Cares, it's a gift that he's giving to Fullerton Cares, but it's walking the talk.
What's amazing to me, Shannon, is I learned a lot from being friends with Keith since I saw you last.
Yeah?
Like Keith will call me, he has a podcast, Reza Riffs, and I'll say, I had to do this interview over the phone. I'm not sure how it went. I'm like, well, you were there. He said, but I can't read the facial cues. I can't tell their emotions on the phone. And I thought when he's doing comedy, he can't see past the first row of the audience.
Yeah.
And he has difficulty processing. My understanding, I believe I'm correct, but my understanding is he just has a hard time processing how somebody is feeling about what he's feeling.
Right.
And as a comedian, that's impossible. It's like being a coal miner without a hatchet or a shovel.
Wow.
Like the fact that he can write as much comedy as he does and perform it, and he has no idea, like, in real time, wow, that worked. Like, that's my, like, pleasure button. He doesn't have it.
Well, that's interesting to me because I'm thinking to your performance last year at this, you got up and you did this incredible set, and it wove its way around to all these different things. And I remember thinking, when you put together a set now, you've had so much material over so many years, do you put it together beforehand like people do when they start? Or do you read the audience, see what they're liking, and decide? Neither. What do you do? What's your process?
I just go up and I start talking.
So you don't know ahead of time?
I mean, I know what works.
Right.
I know I'm going to close with the Christopher Walken impression.
Okay.
I could close with Tracy Morgan, or there's like a bunch of impressions as like, if you're looking at a chessboard, my rooks are like,
yeah.
Maybe I'm on the spectrum. Chris Farley, Christopher Walken, or Tracy Morgan.
Right.
If you work your way in, like Al Pacino, and then as you get closer and closer in, like the meat of it, the pawns and stuff are like my sons. That's 20. Like each story I have is about 12 minutes, 8 to 12 minutes. So if I just think about my son, I just start, there's like 80 directions I could go.
Right.
And that leads into something, that leads into something. There's always about 8 minutes of new material that I'm always going to do because I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Because it's new. And then, the best way I can describe it is when you go on vacation in Hawaii, you don't walk around with your suitcase the whole time you're there. You know, if you go to the pool, you got to take out your swimsuit.
Right.
So when I get to that point in the show, I just go, okay, this is where it goes here.
So you are reading the audience a little bit.
No.
No, you just have
I impose my will.
But
it's like a fighter. Now, in the old days, fighters used to watch so much tape of the other guy.
Yeah.
Not in the old days, more like in the 70s and 80s. They'd watch film on the other guy a lot and figure out his tendencies. And UFC, when it started in its inception, they would watch film of the other guy. And now this is what I do, try to stop it. The other guy's stuff doesn't, I mean, I use the audience for time and space, but not like content, what I should say next.
But now I want to go back to what you were saying about Keith, because you were saying the fact that he can't read that, he's like a coal miner without a hatchet, but you're telling me that you're going in and you're going to do whatever. So are you, can you say that you're doing your set without, if you didn't, like Keith,
no,
you know what I'm trying to say, I'm not being articulate.
I made the tunnels a long time ago.
Right.
They're my tunnels.
They're your, so you know where you're going.
I made the maps.
Got it.
I hung the lights.
Got it.
I'm asking them to follow me into the tunnels. I'm not saying, what, you guys want to go this way or that way?
Right.
Then there's doubt, there's pause. You can't have, there's a few, like athletics and show business, you can't have doubt.
Right.
You just got to go.
So your point is that Keith is having to forge those tunnels without the check-ins that
he does his show. Like, I worked with him a lot, and he opens for me a lot. I love working with Keith. I know he does a set, and he'll mix up the order sometimes.
Yeah.
But I have the luxury of doing it 33 years. I have 6 hours of material.
Right.
I shot 2 specials this summer.
Oh my gosh.
A month apart. I was kind of being a show-off, too. Like, here's another one. So if you have an hour, you know which, if you're opening for somebody, which 20 minutes or probably 15, 20 minutes is the strongest 15. Like if you picture a funnel, like what's the bottom of that funnel? What's the powerful? What's the dot? Like what's the thing?
Yeah.
So he's going to do his best stuff.
Yeah.
But with me, it's, I'll write things down, and those are the things I forget to do. And if I have a piece of paper with anything written on it, I'm so conscious of looking down and them seeing me look down because I'm not present.
Yeah.
I'm not with them anymore.
Interesting.
If I'm reading a note here, I might as well be going like this.
Right.
I can't. It takes me out of everything.
Wow.
In acting, it works bad because they say you really need to listen to the other person. But when I remember I tried this on Ghost Whisperer. I was really listening to Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I was like, I don't know what these words mean.
That's the thought process.
It was all, I'm like, really listening. But like, see how I scrunched up my face? That's not really listening. That's just like a little kid impersonating adult listening. Like, I'm really listening. And I was like, what did she say? Like fiduciary or something? Like when words don't mean anything after a while? I act like this. This is how I act, ready? Not my turn, not my turn, not my turn. Words. Well, it's really not been my turn in a long time. This is kind of boring. My turn? Words. I just wait for the gap and I fill it.
What's been your favorite experience on a set when you were acting, when you felt like, okay, I'm doing my best work here?
I mean, there's 1,000. I mean, getting Jerry Maguire and sitting across from Tom Cruise on your first day. Yeah. Your first movie ever. Your first.
That was your first movie?
Yeah, Jerry Maguire was my first movie.
That's
in 1996.
hitting it out of the park.
Yeah. And it was incredible. Everything was perfect. He was perfect. He was beautiful. He's a great person.
Yeah.
And Cameron Crowe and just who you're surrounded by. Playing by heart, I played a guy dying of AIDS, and Ellen Burstyn was my mom. It's a big ensemble. It's not like I'm the guy.
Right.
That's what comics and actors will do. Like, so tell me about your part in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Well, I play a Nazi who's with his friends at the Ark of the Covenant, and then some guy with a whip comes in and tries to ruin our party.
Right. Right.
I should write that down, actually.
Right.
I'll remember and I'll tell.
Playing by heart, I played a young man dying of AIDS. Ellen Burstyn was my mom, who never even knew I was gay in the movie. Her son was gay. And she has 3 days before I die. Like, we have 3 days where, like, and I was really afraid, like, what if I don't cry? 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 There's a lot of crying in my scenes. And I opened my eyes in the hospital bed, and I looked at Ellen Burstyn, and I just lost my mind, wailing, moaning, sobbing, because I was looking at a woman who was so racked with pain. I'm getting choked up now. Like, she was broken. Her son was dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom! It was transcendental. I've never experienced that before. It was amazing. I could probably do this for an hour, but going to work every day with Buddy Hackett on Action, that was, he was like a dad to me and a mentor. He was like my sensei, my kung fu master, and he was just silly and great, but he had the best advice.
Why do you walk to the microphone when you go on stage?
Because that's where everybody walks.
Right, don't go there. You see what I do? I go in front of the microphone. I shake that guy's hand and I wave if it's up top. Oh, that guy paid for parking. Then you go behind the microphone and they all go behind the microphone with you.
Wow.
I've never walked, you've seen me probably 1,000 times. I've never walked behind a mic since then. That was 1999. Since then, I put the mic behind me. I'm like, how's everybody doing? He was great.
And people who haven't seen you do stand-up may not know all the impressions. We just saw you do an incredible Buddy Hackett impression, but you do a lot of impressions and you're brilliant at it. It isn't necessarily the thing that everybody knows you best for unless they've seen you do stand-up, which is sort of funny. You're like, it's almost like you're too talented, Jay, and you have all these pockets of things that you do. Marketing you has got to be like a hard thing to do because you can do so much.
Entertainer.
There we go. That's the perfect, the perfect thing.
The guy.
But you brought up the word mentor, and that's something else
I agree with what you said, by the way, about the impressions, and you reminded me, whether you know it or not, I don't do them often at all. And when I go on the road, I just came off of 2 months straight. Every weekend I was out, and I was in LA Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, half of Wednesday. I had to be a dad. Yeah. And I could feel the tension about 40 minutes in, like, do Christopher Walken, do Christopher Walken. And I'm like, I should do it, because eventually somebody goes, do Walken. Yeah. But yeah, there's been sets where I do 40 minutes of impressions in a 60-minute set, but most of the time I don't even really think to do them, and I have to honor that more and honor that. Ugh. I have to honor that craft more.
It is one of your talents.
I know, just
and
the word honor. I might as well call them fans too.
But you brought up the word mentor, and I love that you were mentored by people like Buddy Hackett. But you
actually,
now,
you brought up mentor, referring to Keith and me.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a full circle then. Yeah. But you're somebody who takes that role very seriously. We should mention that you have a fabulous, hilarious, wonderful, and grounding podcast, More Stories. But you also mentor people. This is a little bit how, my understanding is how you guys met, because here you were an autism mom. I want to say that I met Robin because we had her as a guest on the show because she's the outreach director for Fullerton Cares. And Fullerton said, from time to time we have people on and they send good people. She was on the show and I was so impressed with her. I was like, oh, this woman is amazing. I was like, are you looking for a job? Because I know people who are hiring, and you actually worked on skills for a while.
I did.
And it was a wonderful gift.
What does that mean, worked on skills?
Well, Skills is an amazing curriculum tool for use with kids with autism, and it's a very comprehensive curriculum developed by the Center for Autism. And
that's the overall name for that type of curriculum.
Skills for Autism.
That's fascinating.
Yes,
it is a thing.
We talk about starting like a wrestling team.
Well, I can see where that would be a fabulous thing.
That is
and not like you said that, and I thought it was a joke, but I actually think you guys that would be a great thing.
The repetition of a wrestling. But what happens usually, I've coached autistic kids before, and in the wrestling room, it's something special to watch. It's the repetition that what everybody else finds really mundane, that over and over and over and over. Yeah. And then you go out live into a live wrestling match. All of a sudden, there's 10 mats, not one. There's 400 people, not 14. Yeah. And this isn't a blue mat.
Yeah.
There's a brown mat.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, it's completely disorienting, and it's, you get a little locked up. So I'd be fascinated to see how to sort of bridge the practice toward the live event. Like what, there has to be, there is a way, there just has to be. I refuse to
what I do.
There has to be
I was just going to say, she's an expert at that.
I'm an expert in modifying
generalization.
Yes.
It's like a wrestler.
There's a name for it.
Half Nelsons, cradles, front headlocks. She's got it. Arm drags.
She's an amazing, and I recognize this in her. And you're a mom of two kiddos on the spectrum, in different places on the spectrum.
Very different.
And you, since that time when I first met you, have gotten a diagnosis for yourself.
Yes.
So you identify now as a self-advocate, as a lot of moms are finding out. They see their kids go through this and they go, I think I might have more in common with them than I thought.
Right, exactly.
But so how did, refresh people's memory if they don't know, how did this happen?
I want to make something really clear. First, we didn't meet as a mentor relationship at all. We met because Robin was coming to I just didn't want to misrepresent somebody I love. Like just stumbling out of the woods. Guide me.
That's what it felt like, honestly.
So you go. I just wanted
She describes it that way, so you can. But let's hear your part of it.
She helps me a lot. She'll text me set lists before I go on stage, and they're perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
I go, that makes it fun for me.
And if I text him the order and the bits I want, you'll remember it if I.
Yeah, because it makes sense. It's a good set.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's actually me being back to me being on the spectrum. So how people on the spectrum are. We have our enthusiasms, and I got into comedy. I've always been really into music, but I found podcasts. And I stumbled onto Jay's podcast, and it really did change my life because it set itself apart from the other podcasts that I was listening to, because there were jokes, but there was always the underlying message of positive mental attitude, of self-care, never stop growing, never saying anything negative about anyone, and I felt like everyone else's podcasts were kind of trashing people, and so
they still do.
More than ever, probably.
I got lit up on the flight home. I was like, hey, what did I do?
But I really threw myself into that, and it was when my second child was getting diagnosed with autism, and I threw myself into my podcast. That's just how I escaped.
It was your safe place.
It was. And so Jay used to say, why don't people come and see stand-up comedians the way they do musicians? Because, you'll go see your favorite band a million times, but no one follows comedians like they follow the Grateful Dead. And I was like, that's a good idea. So I started going to like every single one of his shows, and I
didn't know that.
Have officially lost count.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why.
I didn't know I said that. I
Up
didn't know
there.
that's why. I thought you just wound up at a show and kept coming.
And once I saw how amazing you were live, I think every comedian that I'm a super fan of now owes you some kind of royalty, because I'm a good fan and I go to all the shows and I support, comedian puts a book out, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to listen to the podcast, support the Patreon, all of that stuff. And it's because of you and your message. And so no one looks like me, and so I'm just in the front row all the time.
It's a nice set, by the way. She's easy on the eyes. When you look down the front row, it's not some like real estate broker from Long Island.
But did you
wearing
feel like
shorts.
Did you feel like you were being stalked a little bit? Because you recognized
No,
that.
I should have, but no,
But
never. It was
she doesn't
always
have
nice.
that vibe to her.
No, I never did.
Well, I was a good fan. It wasn't like meeting him in the parking lot or anything.
Right,
I was, showing up.
Yet.
Yeah, that was later.
But I did that too, like with my radio show. Like when I had my sports talk radio show, it was syndicated. There's 20 listeners that are in my phone that I still talk to.
Yeah.
And people are like, you can't give your phone number out to listeners. They'll come kill you. I'm like, no, not these guys.
Well, there's people watching now that I've become friends with that across the country, across the world, that I consider friends that watch this show. I mean, it happens. You build a relationship over a period
There's
of
a
time.
signal in the noise.
Yeah.
You just tell.
Yeah.
Like he's okay.
Yeah.
She's all right. He's all right.
And so you guys became friends.
Yes, and he is really, really good at reading people, which is, I think, how he knew I was harmless. And he's really, really good at reading people. And we happened to both be going through extremely painful divorces at the exact same time. And he looked out at me, and literally I just made a face, I guess, in regard to something he had said. And later, I'm walking out of the show, someone came and got me and said, oh, Jay wants to talk to you. And he just looked at me and said, I know you're in pain. And did just lead me out. And he was in the worst pain I've ever seen him or pretty much
it got
anybody
worse,
in.
Sweetie.
No, but
It got a lot worse.
My point is, though, it was when he was having his darkest days, when he was even in the depths of what he was going through, he still reached out to me to make sure I was okay, knowing that if he was in that kind of pain, then I must certainly be. And he was there for me, and he taught me how to get past the painful things I was stuck on. And that's what I mean when I say I got to a place in my life where I was able to be happy and healthy and meet my husband, Paul.
You learned to let the good in.
Yes, I did.
And I have to say, I haven't seen her in a while. I used to see her on a regular basis, and I didn't see her for a period of time, and there was a transformation. And there was an absolute transformation, and I said, oh my gosh, you look different. And she said, I feel different. And and of course,
But see, that's what I see though. Like I don't think it is a transformation. I don't want to like a layman term, and I know it sounds snooty, but that's what I see in the person, and that's what I see sort of clouded up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that person's got to come out.
Yeah.
Like you're smothering that girl.
Yeah.
So it's not for me. It's like there she is.
Yeah.
Nice
exactly.
to see. Now it's nice to see you again.
And there was clearly something, and I remember saying something to her about, so what's happened, and one of the first things she said was you. So, and I know that people listen to your podcast, and that you sometimes, is it always just like a little squishy thing, or is there a hard and fast thing that you actually say to somebody, okay, now I'm gonna mentor you?
Well, I'm a life coach. On my jaymohr.com, I send a non-disclosure agreement for their privacy, a money-back guarantee. There's disclaimers on my website. Robin wrote a great one, which I'm grateful for.
You take people on and help them to get...
Yes, jaymohr.com, all the information's there, yeah.
What they
I do about
want
6
out of
people
life.
at a time, so I don't get like scattered. And
Yeah.
So, about your dad dying. My dad didn't die.
Right.
I just got diagnosed with diabetes. You didn't let me finish. In the future, when your dad
dies.
I do about 6, 7, or 8 people at a time. You can email me at coachjj37 autismlive@gmail.com. I had to say that really slow, make sure I wasn't giving out my personal email.
There we go.
I'm the only one that reads it, but that's the life coaching email, coachjj37@gmail.com. And I don't have the thing I start with is I feel blank because blank. And for the first space, you can only use a one-word emotion and think of emotions like primary colors.
Wow.
Don't come at me with copper.
Right.
I feel frustrated because, like, no. Frustrated means,
right,
which is a subsidiary of, which is an
Right.
avenue that next to.
Wow.
There's like 4 of them, really. I'm
and
angry.
everybody
I'm
needs
afraid.
this in life, right?
I'm afraid, or I'm angry.
Yeah.
Or you know. That's it. Sad.
Yeah.
Sad, afraid. I mean.
Yeah.
And through doing it, and I coach high school wrestling every day, and I wrestle every day when I'm in the room, and it's when you see somebody like that exhausted and broken down, there's no walls, and you realize, like, there's only like 6 kinds of real people here. I mean, everybody's so different, but it's like, you know, there's I won't be able to say it succinctly. I don't have a tried and true formula like this is my thing, other than that first sentence, and I do it via email. 11 for each of us. Like, if I was working with you, you'd have 11, I would have 11, about 22 emails. And I'm not strict about it. Because when you talk, you can go, what I meant was, you can kind of gloss over. When you send me an email of that import, you reread it, you edit, you put this up top, you remove that entirely. Semicolon, why did I put the semicolon in there? So then you send it to me after you sat on it overnight. So by the time I'm reading it, if something sticks out to me, you don't even know you're wearing clown shoes. Like, wow, this sentence is right after that sentence.
Right.
Like, I'm completely addicted to logic and rationality. I'm afraid to go to bed at night. Like, well, that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
That's hypothetical. It's not that great an example, but, and nobody's been unhappy.
Yeah.
It's been an honor, really, because people share things. I'm a comedian. I have no documentation. I have no certification. I'm just a comedian that's been kicked in the guts a few times by life, and getting my own act together through a couple programs that end in A and don't have to do with eating. You know, I got to keep my side of the street clean. I got to take my inventory every day. I have to meditate every day. I have to just.
But there's something very unique about you. I'm sure you recognize.
Oh, I don't disagree. I've been trying to get everybody to feel that way since I was 17. Come
right.
on.
And there is something very special about you, and how you show up is very unique.
I've never
and
actually been
special.
this embarrassed in real time before, because you guys were really so
well,
effusive with the praise.
No, but I'll tell you,
Thank you.
last year when we did because I did a little thing in the comedy show, I was there, saw you perform, and my son was there, and afterwards. Afterwards, I wanted him to meet you, and so we came backstage and we got a picture with you, and I went to introduce him to you, and I said, well, this is my son, Jem, but he likes to go by the name James now. And you looked at me, and you looked at me, and then you looked at him, and you were like, what's your name? And he introduced himself as James, and you spent the moment with him, and then you turned to me and you were like, why are you calling him anything other than what he wants to be called?
That's what I said, yeah.
And you did, and I was like, I don't know. But I do know it's because I had, 14 years of thinking of him that way and calling him that, and I just hadn't been able to shift my gears, but I worked much harder on it after that. Because it was that you come at people with a Mack truck of truth.
I'm very abrupt.
A Mack truck of truth.
I take the ball and I go home very quickly.
You do, and it's disarming.
Yes or no answer. Yeah. Well, then we're done
disarming.
talking if you can't give it to me.
Right.
Like I don't have time for this. You don't know this, but you don't have time for this.
Right.
This is why you're stuck.
Right.
Is because you keep waffling like.
Right. He makes it he takes it right down to the bone level immediately, and that's disarming. And everybody's not ready for it at all. But if you need somebody who's going to do, not waste time wading through the bullshit meter, excuse my French, but just take it to the bone. This is your guy.
My psychiatrist, when I go see him, he diagnosed me as bipolar a month ago. It was a year and a half in the making. He didn't throw a label on it.
Wow.
I'm like, I wasn't a jerk. I had a problem. I sit down. He goes, so. All he says the word so. And I go, and then this and that. But I feel great. But sometimes, I don't feel great because. And then I stop talking. And if he doesn't talk right away, I go, geez, what else? I'm bombing. And there's times where I'm like, he's got to say, and it's always right at the end. He goes, have you ever tried? And I'm like, whoa. But if you let somebody tell you what's wrong,
Yeah.
they'll tell you a lot of stuff that isn't wrong. It just gets added in like a magnet going through a bunch of paper clips.
Yeah.
Like, I feel because. First is a one-word emotion only, and after because, you can write as much as you feel I need to understand the what you feel. I feel that because my sister is an addict, and I got all my kids and her kids, and my job is killing me, and I got my foundation I have to run, but like, hold on a second. Your sister has nothing to do with just like this is it's like
Right,
Rashomon, all these different things. So
Right.
why don't you send it back to me when you're ready to do it?
Loving the Rashomon reference.
You're my birthday. I love that you love it.
Yeah, but,
As I said it, I'm like, why are you saying Rashomon?
no, totally got it, loved it.
There was a guy I worked with. He was a professional athlete, and that's where foundation popped in. I'm like, where'd you get foundation from? His dad was in the hospital. His father was dying. His sister was an addict. That was roughly his thing. I can't break his confidentiality, obviously, but I
Right.
give breast drugs.
Right.
My sister's an addict. I'm watching her kids and my kids, and I have this divorce, and now I can't go see my kids because of the foundation of my sister's addictions and this, and I want to see my father in the hospital, but I can't because I get the ear beaten when I go, oh, a second. And it was just, I just knew his dad was an error when he was a kid. I can always feel when somebody's missing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's intuition, I guess, but I don't know. And I said, your dad wasn't around when you were a kid. Like, he was alive, but what's going on? I go, actually, just yes or no. And he goes, yes. I go, okay. I'm afraid to go see my father in the hospital because when he dies, he will have left me again.
Yeah.
And the
Matt
guy
struck a
started
truth.
crying. The guy started crying. I was in his office.
Yeah.
And I realized I had a flight to catch in 14 minutes.
Right.
And I went, can you pay me cash? He goes, oh, what?
Spoken like a true life coach.
I had to go on the road for like
Right.
2 months. And this is like back when I was like minus hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the divorce and the IRS. And I was like, it just popped in my head. I was exhausted from the,
Right.
Can you pay me cash? She just goes, oh my God, you're what? I go, I'm totally kidding.
But you cut right to it, and
But the first thing, yes,
Yes.
that was important. But yeah,
Anyway,
there's
yeah.
you know when you're a kid,
You
you're
were
getting chased through
interesting.
the house, and you don't want to get tagged, so you like knock a chair over behind you.
Yeah.
People use words like chairs. They just you
Yeah.
talk to them. It's like this, and you can't get me and see
Right.
what the problem is because I threw these words around.
But you
behind
have the
me.
ability to see through the chairs.
I can see that they're phony. I can see that. I even said that like a creep. I can see that they're phony. I'll tell you that, lady.
But you know, a lot of
I
people
don't see
can't see
through them. I know that they're not who I'm trying to tag.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like a masseuse who, you know, people have different talents. And there's like the masseuse who can be massaging somebody's back, and we could all do that, but they find the one spot.
Yeah,
and
it's
they
amazing.
And they go, okay, this is the knot, this is the spot.
Something
breathe
you
into
didn't
that.
know was bothering you.
Right,
Like,
right,
oh.
exactly. So
Apparently my left calf is
right. You're brilliant that way. And we're out of time, and I
don't know
hate
why-
that we're out of
how about
time.
why did I put a T in calf? My left calf.
I didn't hear it. It got by me. But in any case, let's go back to the fact
Fullerton
that Saturday,
Cares.
this Saturday, there are tickets.
How about this? It's
Yeah.
in Fullerton.
It's in
What are the odds
Fullerton.
of that?
Like, you don't even have to remember.
She didn't know that when she named it.
And you could
Oh
take
no, it's not my foundation.
and you could
Okay.
take the train to get there and get off in the train station, and you're in the parking lot for the event. So there it is. Go early. The event
Yes.
starts at 7. But
Get
go,
there at 6,
Go
at least.
At least 6.
Yes.
I'm saying go there at 4:30. Have dinner, drinks, and whatever.
They want you
see
as
the live
exhausted
bands.
and as intoxicated as possible by the time you see me. Is that the
That's
plan?
not the ticket, but there's things to do leading up to, and then you want to be there in your seat when Keith takes the stage, which
Yeah.
will be significantly before Jay is there. Don't forget that on tomorrow's show we have Ida Rodriguez and we have Keith Reza, and you're going to be back with us tomorrow's show. But be there on Saturday because there's too many funny people that are showing up. It is adult, let's say that, totally adult. Although, you know, I did bring my son last year, but I don't think that it's typically for
Yeah,
teenage.
it's definitely
You really
for adults.
You really
I
have
really
to
like
bring it.
that guy.
Yeah, well, he liked you too. He thought you were hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
We had a nice time, just him and me.
He left there saying that maybe he'd like to be a stand-up comedian, and we're laying that at Keith's door, but also yours. And there were a lot of good comics, but the whole thing in going, okay, people can make people laugh. That's the thing to do.
He was listening to a lecture in his earbuds. I remember.
Really? See, I don't remember that.
Yeah, the earbuds, and he was listening to a lecture, but it was to a chill step.
I remember I do remember now, because that was the thing, you were like, what are you listening to?
It was really hard for him to explain.
Yeah.
And then I had to let him know, like, that's, just so you know, that's really hard to explain.
It's scary that you remember that.
He's special. He's special to me. He's an
He's
important
very
guy.
special to me, too.
I didn't mean,
and that was a special moment, but I don't remember.
I just met him, and I haven't thought about him since then, but when you brought him up, I went, I like that guy.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, I did.
He's a good kid. And you're a good guy. You're one of the good guys. And
Thanks.
I think you know that, but let's make sure that we tell you. And thank you, because you were a light. You are an absolute light.
Yes.
And you bring lights together, which is a fabulous
Thank you. I've got to say, though, I wish I could take all the credit for this comedy show, but...
Take it.
No, big shout out to Larry Hauser, Summer Hauser, Heather
It takes a
Lane.
village, and you guys have the village in Fullerton.
Absolutely.
Larry, what are their names? Larry
and Summer Hauser.
You know them. They're the fabulous.
I just talked over to Summer's name, so I wanted to make sure I got out.
Yes, definitely.
I'm happy
They're
to see you,
fantastic.
Shannon.
I'm happy to see you too, and
Nice
thank
to
you
see
for
you.
taking the time to come in here. We have to go, unfortunately, but we will be back tomorrow with another show, great show. Ida Rodriguez, you guys are going to love her, and Keith Reza and Robin will be back with us. Don't wait, get your tickets. They have a few left for the Fullerton Cares comedy show for autism. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.